Hello my loves, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new here. Hi, hello, my name is Loey. I hope all of you who celebrate Christmas had an amazing holiday. I had a great time spending it with my family, took a break from trying to edit or upload anything on Christmas, and it was really nice just to take a step back and kind of breathe and be with my family and not think about spooky stuff for just a few days. So actually yesterday when you guys are watching this, I uploaded my winter morning routine, and I just quickly want to say a big thank you for the love that I got on that video. In 2019, I definitely want to put out more fashion and beauty videos like that. While I love the spooky stuff and I will always do it for you guys, I love that side of YouTube too, and I love making those kinds of videos. So if you guys have not already watched, make sure to go over and support the video because it's not something I normally upload, and I'm just really excited for it. So your support means everything to me. I love you guys so much. I can't believe that we are so close to the new year and an entire new year of more videos. It's just been so cool to spend the holidays with my family and have every single one of them tell me, you know, I work with this person and they watch your videos and they love you. Or like my friend's kid knows you and wants you to sign their book that they got for Christmas. So many of you guys got my novel, Haunted in Hollywood, for Christmas. And it's just like, I feel like even though we're all so far apart and spread throughout the globe, it is amazing that I feel like I spend every single holiday with you guys in my heart and in my home and in my family. And I'm gonna stop being cheesy and jump straight into this video because we do have a lot to talk about, but I love you guys so very much. It's absolutely crazy and I am just so grateful for you. Today I have a Gr3gory88 update for you all. Now, this is the viral scary story that is currently running as a Twitter thread. Basically, he inherits his grandfather's house and finds out that there is some really mysterious stuff surrounding the house. And the last update that I gave you guys was super weird and creepy, and he saw the woman in the hoodie again. But I am really excited and scared to say that today's update is so much crazier. He updated like halfway through December and then again a few days ago, and I'm just now catching up on everything, so I can't wait to read it to you all tonight. If you guys love this series, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and make sure to follow the Twitter account for more updates. Without any further ado, get your drink, get your snack, and let's get into this scary Gr3gory88 update. On December 11th, Greg said, I found out what those letters spell. I'd almost forgotten about those letters. And he says here, I'd basically forgotten about it after finding them outside the house. I put them in the back of the closet and pretty much stopped thinking about them. But yesterday I found something else. There's this little alcove upstairs with built-in shelves and a bunch of old books. Sort of a mini library. I was flipping through some of them looking for something to read when I came across this little book about wine. Tucked inside were a couple of old Polaroid photos. They were pretty faded, so it was hard to make out what they were. The first one was pretty unremarkable. It looks like it's just photos of the trees outside. The second one was even blurrier. For a minute, I didn't know what I was looking at, but then I realized it was of the house and the letters I found on the ground a couple weeks ago. The photo was super fuzzy, so it took me a second, but I was able to make it out. Deep Water Chapel, which again, a lot of people said when we initially found these letters on the ground. This is so weird. I've never heard that name before. Was my house a church or something? I spent the afternoon going through all the other books in the library, but didn't find any other pictures. I don't know what to make of this. I'll let you know if I find anything else, but yeah, I don't know. And then just 2 days later, Greg comes back with another update. She was here. That woman was in my house. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. I can barely type. Sorry, I'll try to explain. All right, so I was in the woods out back yesterday when it started pouring. It happened really suddenly, and even though I wasn't far from the house, I got soaked anyway. It rained most of the evening. I left my clothes by the fireplace to dry and ended up going to bed early. Or I guess it was today. Sorry, I'm not really awake yet. Anyway, I had this awful dream tonight. Sorry if I'm rambling a bit. He's apologizing a lot. I'm still trying to collect my thoughts. Sorry, my hands are shaking. In the dream, I was on the deck outside with a bunch of friends from back home. We were all sitting in a circle. My friend Eric was there talking about how creepy the woods were. He was saying how the trees were just big black silhouettes and anything could be out there watching you and you'd never know it. He was sort of freaking me out and I was trying not to show it. I'm all, I know what you're doing and it's not gonna work. You're not gonna scare me. And Eric sort of narrowed his eyes at me and says, I bet I can scare you. Something about the way he said it made me uneasy and I was like, all right, Very funny. You can stop now." But Eric wasn't smiling anymore. He was just staring back at me. The whole mood seemed to shift at that point. Nobody in the circle was talking anymore, and it suddenly got really quiet. No sound except the wind and the lake down below. Any trace of joking has disappeared from Eric's face. After a long minute, he slowly cocked his head to the side a bit and said, "Is there someone here with us right now who shouldn't be?" All of a sudden, I was too scared to break Eric's gaze, afraid I'd see something I didn't want to. For a long time, we just stared at each other. Nobody said anything. Then, very softly, Eric said, "Is there somebody watching you sleep right now, Greg?" That's when I bolted awake. It was the middle of the night. I was alone in my room, but I had this weird feeling that someone had just been there in the room with me. I laid there in bed a minute, too terrified to move, too scared to breathe even. That is so scary. And then I heard something downstairs. Apparently it gets scarier. At least I thought I did. The house was always making sounds, so I couldn't be sure. I hesitated for a second, then crept out of bed and went down the hall, trying to be as quiet as possible. From the second floor landing, I could see the living room and part of the kitchen. Everything seemed normal. I could hear the wind blowing pretty loudly outside, so I figured maybe I hadn't heard anything after all. I tried to calm myself down. I was wide awake at that point and too shaken to go back to bed, so I went downstairs to get a snack or coffee or something. I walked into the kitchen, then stopped dead in my tracks. There's a door in the kitchen that leads outside, and it was wide open. I know I locked it. I lock all the doors every night, and even if I forgot to lock it, I know I wouldn't leave the door open like this. The whole kitchen floor is wet with rain. I'm calling a locksmith first thing in the morning to come change the locks. I want to leave, but I don't even know where I'd go. I'm alone out here. Should I find a motel? And I just realized my wet clothes are gone. She stole my freaking clothes. I'm not spending the night here. Oh my God. Literally the scariest update we've had on that story to date, but trust me when I tell you it gets worse. Somebody named Abby said if she was able to navigate in the house and she has no eyes, that means she's familiar with the house and the house layout. She's been in there before and knows it well enough to walk around without bumping into anything and making a lot of noise. Get out of there. Greg says I didn't even think of this. I left, but I'm still freaking out a bit. I'm trying to find a hotel or something. Then he goes quiet and leaves us all wondering, hey, you okay? Until finally, 3 days ago, I'm sorry I haven't said anything in a while. I've been staying in a motel about an hour outside of town. When I left the house that night, I just kept driving until I felt like I was far enough away to feel safe. I called a locksmith, but they weren't able to come out right away. And there was no way I was going back to the house without new locks. So I've just been waiting it out here until I can go back. Basically doing nothing. Jumping at every little sound and feeling crazy. Finally, a couple days ago, the locksmith called back and said he'd come out. So I checked out of the motel and got in my car to drive home. It was a pretty long drive back, and the closer I got to the woods, the worse I felt. In my head, I knew going back was wrong, but I can't just leave for good. I don't know. I can't explain it. I can't leave. I don't expect anyone to understand. I don't even understand. Anyway, I drove past town and reached the woods, where the roads get worse and harder to drive on. They get twisty as you drive up to the house, and you have to be careful not to hit deer. I almost always see a dozen or so deer on my drive, but today there were none. Not a single deer in sight. In fact, the woods seemed a lot quieter than usual. I could have been imagining it, but something definitely seemed off. I was almost ready to turn around when something darted across the road. It was so fast that I wasn't sure I saw it at all. I panicked and swerved off the road and into a deep groove by the roadside. By the time I had realized what had happened, the thing was gone. I have no idea what it was. It was just a blur. But it wasn't a deer, it was red. Red like blood. Worse, my car was stuck. It's my mom's old car, this weak little two-wheel drive, and I couldn't manage to get it out of the groove. I sat there for a long time, trying to figure out what to do. I knew it wasn't a good idea to walk the rest of the way, but if I didn't, I'd miss the locksmith, and I'd have to either spend the night in the house with old locks, or go back to the motel, which I couldn't afford. I wasn't too far from the house, so it made the most sense to walk the rest of the way and call a tow truck from home. I needed to meet the locksmith anyway, so I got out and started walking. Once I was outside, I realized I'd been right about the woods seeming quieter than usual. I couldn't even hear any birds. It was dead silent. My footsteps seemed so loud. Every twig that cracked into my shoe sounded like a bone breaking. I was periodically checking my phone's GPS to make sure I was heading the right way. I had just rechecked the route and was about to put my phone away when I saw something that made my heart sink. It was another one of those artifacts, like the ones I'd seen on my first day here, but it had one of my gloves tied to it from the rainstorm last week. When I left my clothes by the fire to dry, there was a pair of gloves with them, and here is one of those creepy twig artifacts with a pair of gloves in the middle. I knew that woman had taken my clothes that night, and this just confirmed it. I also knew I'd find the rest of my clothes before I even saw them, and sure enough, I found more of those artifacts not far from the first. I found my other glove, my socks, and a bandana. Everything from that night, except for a sweatshirt I'd been wearing. If you've wondered what all the commotion is about, this little guy decided it was prime running around time. So now I think he's gonna sit in my lap and run around the room so he doesn't make so much noise. You look like a little teddy bear. Did you know that? So now I have a guinea pig on my lap, so hopefully you won't hear running sounds. I left them alone this time. I didn't want to touch them. All I wanted to do was get back to the house, get the locks changed, and call a tow truck. I started jogging a bit, wanting nothing more than to get away from those stick things. But after a while, I started to think that I should have been home already. I slowed my pace and took up my phone, but it wouldn't calibrate this time. It couldn't seem to locate me within the GPS. Still, I could hear the lake off to my left, which meant if I kept walking alongside it, I should get to my house eventually, so I kept moving and tried not to think about getting lost. I must have gotten turned around because I was walking for what seemed like ages. I found myself in a part of the woods that seemed unfamiliar. I had no idea where I was. And then suddenly, I saw something off in the distance. Something bright white, almost seeming to glow against the dark trees. I couldn't figure out what it was from a distance, so I went closer, trying to be as quiet as I could. When I actually got close enough to see what it was, my mouth literally fell open. It was eggs. Huge eggs. All in a cluster like a nest. They were enormous. It's hard to explain their size, but you can sort of see them in relation to my boot here. And oh my God, those literally don't look like eggs. They look like giant bouncy balls. I felt like I was dreaming. Before I even knew what I was doing, I touched one. I couldn't help myself. It was warm. I had a sudden urge to smash it and see what was inside, but then just as quickly decided against it. I felt sick, like I was gonna throw up if I didn't leave right away. I left the clearing and tried to listen for the lake, then headed in that direction. I got to the lake shore and felt a little better. Since I was out of the trees, I had a better view of my surroundings, and I was able to pinpoint my house a ways down the shore. I never thought I'd be so happy to see it. The rest of the way back, I felt like I had vertigo. I couldn't make sense of everything that had just happened. I still can't. I reached the house and somehow felt a little better once I was inside. The locksmith arrived a little bit later and changed out the locks. I watched him work in a daze. I also had him install deadbolts. I called a tow truck and they got my car out of the ditch. But now I'm alone again, and I can't stop thinking about what I saw. I can't figure any of this out. I don't know what's happening. I know I should leave, but I just can't. I can't. At least nobody can get inside tonight. At least I'm safe inside. And that's honestly the last thing I ever thought I would come out of Greg's mouth. What do you guys think of this update? Honestly, I think this one was more chilling than any of the others, and I think it took the weirdest turn. Like, obviously the woman was in the house, but then what are the eggs? And what did they have to do with any of this? And what is going on in this weird little town in the woods? Really, really interested to hear what you guys have to say about it. So make sure to let me know in your comments down below. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I love you so very much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye. You know you're a good filming buddy. Yeah, you're a good filming buddy. You ready for your supper? You want some carrots? Okay, let's get it.